Hello and welcome to Skeindeer Knits. My name is Ellie and I am a Norwegian living and knitting in London. And you can find me on Instagram as Skeindeer, and I am Skeindeer Knits as a designer on Ravelry. And Skeindeer Knits is also the name of my Ravelry group, which is the best place to take part in knit-alongs and getting pattern support, getting in touch, taking part in the Skeindeer Knits community and what have you. So yeah, do head over there and at least make sure to join, and then you can peruse at your own leisure. Welcome to the Skeindeer Knits podcast. This is my kind of knitting talk show, right? Yeah, I talk about knitting for usually about an hour every week, but it's been a very long time. I don't remember when I last put up a video, but I'm pretty sure it was October and we are now well into November, so my goodness, so much for being a weekly podcast. The reasons are quite straightforward. I am working more from university right now, trying to finish my degree. I have also been away for a week. I've been to the Susan Crawford knitting retreat, taking a well-deserved break. So yeah, that's why I'm recording on a Sunday afternoon. And that's why the sun is there instead of there. Usually it is a known kind of nemesis of the podcast, but it's back with a vengeance, it seems. So yeah, I've gone full on into hibernation mode. I am sleepy and tired and just not made for winter, so I think we're gonna take it a bit slow in this episode, and I'm just gonna get a chance to wake up, even though it's yeah, it's 2:05 and I've been up since 8. So yeah, whoa, I have so much to talk about, but they are actually mostly acquisitions. I've been places, I've seen things, I've bought things, I'm not gonna make up excuses. We don't do stash shaming here, but it's worth pointing out there's a considerable pile here. I don't have that many actually knitting projects to talk about because most of them are in fact rather secret. So I am going to mostly be talking about the ones that I can talk about. They will namely be one pattern that hit Ravelry on the 1st of November, and you know which one it is. It is from the Sarby Mitten Club. There's basically I'm going to talk about the rules a bit. I had some questions on Instagram which suggest to me that maybe not all the rules are quite clear, so I'm just going to take a moment, if I may. It's a pattern subscription club that you could join from September onwards. You could still join. There's never really a time when it's too late, but there is one surprise per month. You get a pattern per month. There is the mittens that launched in September with the club. There are the October mittens, and I have now launched the November mittens. So the mittens that you do not know yet what will look like are the December mittens and January mittens. They are sport weight and fingering weight, are arguably the same weight, but it's certainly knit. One is knit a bit looser than the other, but both a bit tighter than the previous more quicker mittens that I have done. So yeah, I just want to make that clear. I feel like a lot of people feel like they are too late, like they have to keep up, like there's some kind of make a pair a month kind of thing, and it's really not. I think I'm going to put the deadline in February, maybe even at the end of February, because it's really not about knitting every pair every month. It's you get a pair every month, you do what you want with that, but you get one entry per pair you have made. So if you want to make one of the designs 5 times or each of the designs once, so you have 5 mitten pairs, either way it's 5 entries for prices and stuff. But yeah, it's up to you. You can also do 10 pairs and you will have 10 entries. There's an entry per pair, and the pairs have to be from this year's club. That's the only rule, and you finish by the end of February. So for now there is no time pressure. You don't have to keep up with anything. You're not behind on anything. I just want to reassure people of that, because I don't know about you guys, but one of my favorite things about knitting is that it's a slow thing. Yes, I am impatient more often than not, but I do think that's a quality of knitting that we need to kind of uphold, and so that's kind of what I'm doing here. But enough chatting. I want to show you the mittens. These are the Kangaroo Mittens. I might actually show you one side one way and one on the other. This is what they look like. Again, I am really just going with the really traditional Sarby mitten look this year. That's the theme. That's kind of what I've been thinking ever since last year's club where I've experimented with colours and cuffs and stuff, this year we're going traditional, and I'm exploring the more kind of quintessential, archetypical, prototypical Sarba mittens, giving you some, you know, even though we're going a bit quicker than traditional Sarba mittens that were made on very fine yarn and a frighteningly number of stitches, even though we're not doing that, I still want to give you some you know, sense of authenticity with the club, and that's really kind of what this year's club is all about. As you can tell, suddenly I'm like very fresh on all my Sarba mitten knowledge, because that's what I taught at the Susan Crawford knitting retreat. I'll talk about that more at the end, with acquisitions and everything, kind of my experience with that. But yeah, the club, either way, up on Ravelry for people who are part of the club. If you haven't joined the club yet, you can still do it, but do be aware that this is only available for club members. So that is kind of, you know, the constraints, because as many, no matter how many lovely messages I get from people who ask if they can just get the one pair, I am gonna have to, you know, decline, because I have sold the club under the, I guess, promise that the mittens that are part of it are exclusive to the club, and it would be very unfair of me if I started to give them out individually at this point now. So I just want to make that very clear. I hope that's understandable. That's kind of, you know, how clubs work. I do a lot of single patterns as well, but clubs are supposed to be kind of a bit of a, I guess, community sort of thing. So yeah, Kangaroo is basically another word for daddy long legs. It comes under many different names in Norwegian, and two of them that I remembered as I was making these mittens and gave them the name because of the pattern that's called the Kangaroo pattern was kind of a close-up of the pattern, because obviously with the fewer stitch count that I use compared to traditional mittens, you can only see a snapshot. So other names for Kangaroo is vävfjädring and spinnfjädring, which I thought was funny because it basically translates to weaving hag and spinning hag. Fjädring, I don't know if it translates directly to hag, because hag sounds a bit negative, and fjädring is sometimes negative and sometimes a slur, but sometimes kind of a more of an endearing thing to call a older woman. So it doesn't have to be. It used to be, I think, less negative than it is today, and today is quite negative if you call someone that. It is, oh yeah, let's not go down that path of, you know, language origin and what have you, but I kind of like that they have some, the name has some links to, you know, fiber arts, but the name Kangaroo does actually come from the name of this particular pattern. So the yarn I have used is Crawford, again struggling with the pronunciation. One of my favorite yarns, Crawford from Bavaria, Bayern, what have you, in Germany, in South Germany. And yeah, I know Christine who makes the yarn. She's absolutely awesome. She's based here in the UK, in fact, and yeah, she makes this really scrumptious non-superwash German merino yarn that I have used for these mittens. I would absolutely recommend that, but of course, as ever, feel free to use whatever sort of heavy DK weight yarn, or just DK weight yarn in general, that you happen to have at hand. I will always recommend Roma 3-ply sticky yarn. It's a really good mitten yarn if you ask me, very strong, well defined. I used them for both DK weight mittens last year, so you can of course still use that, or you can use the Daughter for Shepherd yarn I used last pair of mittens. So there are always options. But yeah, I absolutely loved knitting these mittens in this yarn. They are quite a bit softer than some other mittens that I have done, being merino after all. Yeah, I really liked it. They have a lot of structure, these. It's a well plied yarn, the DK weight Crawford. It is, oh, I really like it. I want to work more with that yarn. Yeah, I don't know how much to say. Put them on, you can see how they sit on the hand. You know, that's basically what we got here. I got the continuous palm thumb chart, very important. Don't skip out on that. So I talked about that a lot the past week. It's one of my favorite things about Sarba mittens, is that little eye detail. So that is Kangaroo up on Ravelry for your knitting pleasure. I have to move on because there's still a pile on the table that hasn't shrunk by talking about one of the things on the table. So, As I'm sure you can guess what the next thing I'm going to talk about is of course my one and only finished object this week, and I am wearing it. It is sadly not available for purchase on Ravelry yet, because I'm still waiting to hear back from my tech editor, because I of course sent the pattern in last minute, as you do. That's my that's my fault. So the pattern will come out not too long. I've done the photos, well, I say I've done them with huge thanks to Susan Crawford, who helped me with the photography. There are photos ready, the pattern is ready, apart from, you know, being actually checked for errors. So but I'm wearing it. It is very high up there on one of my favorite designs that I have done, certainly among garments. I can't quite believe that this one's mine. Gosh, where do I begin? Maybe I should just stand up, I guess. The light is really poor today. It is so dark nowadays. It's really cold as well. I am loving the drop of temperature. It's cold and crisp outside, and I get to stay warm inside with my little new fan heater that I got thanks to the D-stash. But yeah, it is also very dark, and I'm less of a fan of the dark, so I'm gonna have to talk very fast before we move forward to the darker hours and have no light for the podcast. So this is Otra. It is a drop sleeve construction sweater. Is knit top down. It is, what else do I say? I am gonna put up a video tutorial for how to set it off, because I have developed a method for top down setting sleeve sweaters with short rows and steeks, and I can imagine some people may find them a bit of a faff to begin with. So I'm going to put up a video for at least this one, and maybe this can be, I guess, a reference for future sweaters, or maybe I have to do one every time. I don't know. I did use the same method with the Icelander that I have yet to finish, not to be mistaken for the store-bought Icelander I have behind me that I got in Keswick up in Lake District. I do love it, but it's clearly machine it and not the same. But the one I'm developing a pattern for, I got feedback from my testers that the method may need some explanation, so I, you know, in addition to really clarifying the pattern, I am going to put up a video so that you can, you know, knit this bit with confidence and ease. Basically you just cast on for the length of the back and do some short rows, but once you've done that, that's when you do the steek and you kind of start magic looping to pick up stitches and do short rows to kind of lower the tiny boat neck that we got going on here. And I've also listened to people's requests for a wider boat neck, so you can get that as well. But of course all of this will be in the pattern when it comes out, and it's not out yet. I'm trying to sell it here and it's not really out, so I don't know why I'm saying. I'm really pleased with the sweater. I'm really pleased with the length. I am just very happy with it. It is a bit longer than my usual crop length. It should fit well on kind of mid-high rising jeans as well, but you know what, it's top down. You knit to whatever length you want. It is really straightforward. There's no shaping. You just knit. There's about, what, 4 or 5 centimeters for the rib. Is that 2 inches? It's pretty straightforward once you are really past this point here. Once you've established the color work, it is a breeze, so don't be alarmed. It's not a difficult pattern at all. So there, that's Otra. I am, like I said, working on having it out soon. Hello, it's Ellie from the future here. I just had to stop the video because my tech editor did get back to me, so I have the pattern ready. It's up, ready for purchase on Ravelry. The whole thing is just ready, so basically ignore everything I said in this video that is no longer available. It is, and yeah, discount code below if you want to use that. Thank you so much for putting up with my nonsense. All right, back to the regular program. Thank you all so much for everyone who said so many nice things about the sweater, everyone who said they want to knit it. I've had a lot of enthusiasm around this one in particular, which warms a little stressful Skeindeer heart. So oh, there's so many things on my desk. Where do I begin? Think I'm gonna just have to cut it short with this sweater. I'm really pleased that it's done. I knitted it with Navia Duo as the main color and Rerum Finul for the contrast. I will recommend either yarn or any other comparable yarn that you can find in the Ravelry bundle called 2-ply mitten yarn. it's in my favorites, and that's sort of comparable yarns that you can use. So yeah, I might have to take it off during the episode because it actually got a bit toasty in here just because of my amazing heater. I love my heater. I love it so much. Oh well. Oh well. What's next? I do have some work in progress. As I showed you last time, I decided to cast on the Starflake shawl by Stephen West. It's his mystery shawl that is now finished, and I am still on clue 2, so that's how that's going. Yay. The bag is, by the way, a beautiful, beautiful bag that a lovely podcast viewer sent to me. You know who you are, thank you so much. There will also be one for prices for one of my knit-alongs. I didn't mention that the other 2 knit-alongs are the Yellow knit-along and the Kusuk of the Cal, both ending at the end of the year. I'm going to decide which prices go where by then, I guess. So, Starflake. I have started the brioche, basically. Got this far. I'm not even warning you about spoilers at this point. The shawl is done. I'm just really behind, so there's really nothing to, you know. I am doing the one pass method, which is basically just holding both yarns and doing both colors at the same time. It is pretty straightforward once you've done it, and I don't really need a reminder anymore. I don't really need to see videos anymore, but the increases and decreases can be a bit of a faff, but you kind of just have to figure it out. I'm just, for me, with my Colorwork brain, I just can't make myself do every row twice. It will take ages, and I really love the flow of the one pass brioche method, so I just did that. Basically, but I've had to put the project to rest because I do have so many deadline knits and I'm behind on all of them, so welcome to the Skein and Knits podcast where you get to take part in my stress levels. So, but I'm really, really, really pleased with this shawl. The colors are a little bit outside my comfort zone, but not too far. The light color is a Norwegian living in London, I believe it's called, by the amazing Countess Handmade, and this sort of burgundy brown is, I guess it's more of a maroon technically, is by Mon Sheep shop in France, that I bought to work with this shawl, along with the colors that I had from, along with the yarn that I had from Countess Handmade. So it's gonna be a thing. I am mostly just doing it for the experience. I just think it's fun with these sort of different section mystery knit alongs. You get a little bit every so often. So yeah, more on that later. There's not really much to write home about other than the fact that I've done the brioche in one pass, but yeah. So what else was I gonna say? Speaking of mystery knit alongs, I get a lot of questions about if I'm gonna host a mystery knit along this year. I haven't made up a pattern yet, but if I do, there will be, and it might just be a last minute announcement thing. So sorry, I'm not better at planning, but if I do launch it, I'm going to make sure that you have enough time to get the yarn and start knitting. I am really hoping to. I'm just waiting for inspiration to strike. I have a couple of ideas, and really all I need is just time to sit down and start charting. And it's mostly been an issue of having the time, really. I have a couple of ideas, but I'm not sure how well they're going to work out until I've charted them. Obviously, I'm always open to ideas. I'm thinking, you know, Christmas trees and snowflakes and stuff. I don't like to go too far into the festive stuff, and certainly not to specifically religious stuff, because that's not for everyone. And I really do want to design mittens that are for everyone and that can work outside of this little very small time frame that is Christmas, or whatever you do at that time of year. So I have a couple of ideas. I kind of maybe want to go a bit more down the traditional Norwegian route, but yeah, it's all kind of, it's still in the inspiration phase. I don't have a clear answer. I really hope to launch a mystery knit along for mittens. It's really fun every year, and obviously with the advantage that I don't even have to knit it because I don't have to launch it with pictures. So you know, it's good for someone who's busy writing a thesis. So thank you so much for your enthusiasm on that one. It really helps it to get me, you know, started, and we'll see what happens. My answer is maybe, hopefully. So I have another work in progress to show you, and this is one I started in April and I haven't shown you yet because I wasn't sure when I would have it done, because it's a design, but it's a design that I'm going to publish on my own Ravelry shop. So you know, it's not restricted by any sort of secrecy as such. I just didn't want to show it until I knew I was getting closer to a finishing deadline, and I think I might just be getting there. Obviously need to finish the ribs and stuff, and tack editing, photography, but I don't see why I couldn't have this out at this side of New Year's. So I decided I'm going to show you, and I have yet again used Ravvark yarn. I bought this yarn at Edinburgh Yarn Festival because that was when I first saw not just a sport weight version of the yarn that usually is a heavy DK to worsted. I would say worsted. This is a heavy sport, I would say, although it can knit up as fingering, and that's kind of what I'm doing. The color, I mean, this look raspberry red is just right up my alley. I had to get it. I had to get sweater quantity. It followed me home. What are the other excuses we use? Yeah. So I knew I was going to design with it, but I did still buy it because I wasn't able to make a promise as such, you know. I like to be sort of reliable. So I got a grey contrast color as well, and this is the cardigan that I am working on. Bright red. So someone pointed out that this really should come out for Christmas, and I was like, just because it's red doesn't mean, yeah, you're probably right. So it's not a Christmas cardigan, you knit it in whatever colors you want, but yeah, given the colors, I guess I'm gonna try to have it out early December maybe, you know. Stay tuned for more. I'm also holding it up the wrong way. This is with all the short rows up for the back, because I have really gone home with the short rows this time. It's gonna sit really well, and yeah, I will always link to short row methods, by the way. I have sort of an abbreviation system that I use, and in the abbreviation box in the pattern there will always be a link to usually very pink knits tutorial, because they're really good. So I've done one sleeve. It's done, and I am very close to finishing the second sleeve. Just a little bit of stockinette to go, and then the rib. As for the body, I could just start the rib now and have it be, you know, my usual crop fit. I just think I'm gonna go with slightly longer, just because sometimes I like it stopping in my waist, and sometimes I like it stopped just after, you know, just above my high hip kind of. So this might do that, but again, it's top down. I didn't even put in any shaping on this one because I wanted to be, you know, comfortable around the Christmas belly or so. So yeah, you do you. Again, I like top down for that reason. People kind of know how it's gonna sit on the body before deciding the length, although really you could do the same with bottom up. I'm aware that for a lot of people they are more confident adjusting length when it's top down. So happy to say I'm going to do that. Yes, the front will be steeked. You could of course just bind up the steek here and work the rest flat. You could totally do that. I'm gonna steek all the way down and pick up a button bands, and that's really all I need to do. Is the rib for the cuff, is the rib for the body at the bottom, and the rib for the button bands, and then sew on buttons, do photos, send to my tech editor. It's not a lot. It's not a lot, so you know. And it's gonna, as always, have a plethora of sizes, be adjustable for length, be, you know, my usual. So you could use, you don't have to use Ravvark. I love that yarn, but you can use the usual, you know, Finur, Navia, Hillesvåg Ask, Hillesvåg Vilja, which by the way is coming out in my favorite 3 colors: burgundy, navy blue, and bottle green. Oh, Christmas is gonna be good. So yeah, you could use the usual suspects, you know the yarns that I like to use by this point. This yarn is quite heavy, but of course you could use Hold Super Soft for a lighter one. That would work too. Oh yeah, and this bag was sewn up by my mum. We got the fabric at Stuff or Steel if anyone's curious. But yeah, so up and coming pattern. As you may start to tell, I have been properly bitten by the designer bug the whole year really. I'm really gaining a lot of confidence in garment designs. I have tried and failed a lot of times, you know, without publishing. So I'm kind of, I know more what to do now, and it's exciting. I have a lot more, yeah, confidence in it, and skills. Confidence in my skills even, which I guess is the key thing often is in knitting. So stay tuned for more garments. Oh my god, am I proud of this one. Look how well it sits, just as I imagined. Anyway, I'm gonna stop teasing you about this one and this one because none of them are available. So So all we have left to talk about now is acquisitions. There is one work in progress amongst them, just because the yarn is kind of closely related to the thing. Some things have been given, some things have been bought. Most of it's been purchased, and I've had to group it even because there's been a lot of occasions. It's autumn, it's HiyaHiya knitting season. I go to events, things happen, people launch things. I am only human. Yeah, so, you know, buckle up. This is gonna be fun. One item I really wanted to show you that I don't remember if I showed you last time, because I may have purchased this right after publishing my last episode. So it just feels like I've had it for ages because I've used it a lot, and that is this project bag that I bought from my friend Gail. Gail sells her project bags in London. She's been at the Enfield market every weekend the whole month. I wonder if she's done now, but you can find out on her Instagram. I'm going to write it down here just in case I forget. But this is her little shopping label right there. And yeah, this was my October bag. As you can see, it's got all the Halloween themed thing happening. Can't unfortunately show you the project on the inside just yet, but yeah, nice sort of accessory size project bag by Gail there. I'm sure some people with smaller clothing sizes than me could also fit a jumper in here. Certainly fingering weight. Anyway, that's that. I just want to show you. She does have an Etsy shop, so you know, go look up her Etsy shop if you like her bags. So about, I think, what, 2 weeks ago, I took the trip down to Brighton because Linda of Barbara Knits was visiting in the UK, and we went to Yak, the yarn shop in Brighton, and I ended up with a couple of purchases. One was a sweater quantity of Cyrano by the Rerum Natura in this beautiful kind of jeans navy crossover blue color. I only have 2 skeins that I haven't knitted up. I think I bought 5, and I am just powering through it because I have a garment idea that should be done fairly quickly. I just don't want to show you unless something goes wrong, but it is a design. It's a chunky one. Obviously this is a chunky yarn, and the elasticity of this yarn is unlike any other I've experienced. It's like knitting with a rubber band. It is, you know, knitting with chunky yarns can be quite annoying sometimes. It's just really hard on the hands. And this yarn, I am just like stretching it, and then it flops back on, bounces back. I don't know, but it's really comfortable to knit with. So for anyone who's kind of aversive to knitting with big yarn and big needles because of the strain on the hands, this is a really good yarn for that. And it's nice and non-superwash and soft, you know, French merino. I really like it. So I'm thrilled to be working on a design in that. I don't think I'm going to show you just yet. Just stay tuned for it. It should be a very nice one. Now, of course, I could not, you know, look at this book even without buying it, and that is Knitting Outside the Box by the amazing Bristol Ivy, #2. So as you will notice, this is more of a booklet format than the previous book that was a hardcover. I do wish this was hardcover too, so I could have them, you know, side by side in the bookcase. I keep my books and booklets separate just because of, you know, aesthetic reasons and space constraints. So, you know, minor complaint, because this booklet is awesome. Bristol Ivy is one of those rare and few designers who really does think outside the box and does something very new and different with all of her stuff. I talked about early in this year when I went to her talk in the Woolen Festival in Dublin, and just how inspiring that was, and how, you know, I dare to kind of dabble outside of my comfort zone. And I think that was what really sparked the whole summer collection that I did, was just like thinking outside of my box and trying out things outside of my comfort zone, so to speak. Having said that, you know, all the admiration for Bristol Ivy as a designer, the model of this book, I am here for this woman. Oh my days. This was what, she caught my attention on Instagram as soon as this book started being advertised for. She's a beauty. Like, just, I'm just here for her. Just, yeah. She just takes this whole collection to a whole nother level. I don't know what it is. It's just, I don't usually, you know, gush over models at this, you know, this much, but yeah, no, the combination of all the lovely textures, cables, neutrals, which is all the rage now apparently, and the model, and you know, the hard work by Bristol Ivy and the Pom Pom ladies is well worth it. Having said that, don't even know if I have, you know, time and place in my life to actually knit any of this stuff, but it's just reading the initial bits is inspiring enough for me right now. So really pleased to have this book. I am so happy to see, you know, Pom Pom as a publisher do more of this kind of stuff, and yeah, truly, you know, going a cringy as the word may be, you know, a more diverse route with models. I'm just happy. I'm just happy. So thumbs up, I guess. So you may already know this, I don't really hover over websites a lot. You know, I have a very short purchase history on Etsy. I don't tend to order stuff online. I'm quite different to most people in the indie customer community, I guess. I just like to see things in person. And I have seen pink hazel bags in person many times. I think I have about 3 bags. Yeah, I've got 1 big one and 2 small ones, and I love them. And she doesn't do shop updates that often. It's like hardly once a month, I think. And so when she was going to do her Christmas update with Christmas themed bags, I was actually a bit late. I had just returned back from Brighton, and it was 8 past the launch hour, and I was like, I missed it. I think I forgot to put on the alarm, actually, come to think of it. That's probably why I missed it. It was 8 past 8, and I was like, no. But I went on the website, and this was still available. It wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. It's got deer, I mean Skeindeer, deer, gotta have it. It's Christmas themed. I am a very, very festive deer. And yeah, it's a very nice size as well. It is bigger than the 2 small bags I have of hers, and smaller than the big one I have. And I just need to come up with a, I guess, a festive project to put in here. The inside, the quality of pink hazel bags is next to none. I'm a fan. I'm a bit of a fangirl. It is, and just like the whole packaging. Hang on. I got this beautiful handwritten card. I got 2 packs of tea. Oh, it's it does actually say Christmas on the tea, so I guess she's just gone all the way with the whole thing. I really like her bags, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And just the whole packaging and the whole thing that you get is just an experience. Even though if you're anything like me, you just flare it open and just like, even though I guess if you're anything like me, you just like open it with your teeth and nails, and then, you know, it doesn't last very long, but you know, the bag does. So yeah, my pink hazel bag that I haven't put a project in yet, which is amazing because all the other project bags I have acquired are packed full, which I guess it suggests that I did need them, even though I do have far too many. Okay, this is the complaining segment of the acquisitions. I bought another set of HiyaHiya steel needles. The sharp ones are a bit too sharp for me, but I needed chunky, well, I say chunky, large, short steel needles, and I got them, and I put them into my existing set. So I did get another one of these, so that's actually my 3rd HiyaHiya set, because I have bought both the steel and the sharp set, because first, you know, I bought the sharps because everyone talks about the sharps, and then I actually found I prefer the steels. I got the steels, and now I have a 3rd one. And these bags, they're really nice and light. You can just like put this whole set in your bag, you're not going to notice much extra. But this is the complaining part. They are just useless at keeping your needles in place. Every time I open this, of course it's not going to happen now that I'm demonstrating it, but every time I open it, all the needles just like flop out. This whole flap is pointless because it doesn't actually cover the needles on top. It just, I don't know what it does. So if you've had it upside down like this in your bag and you're opening it, it's just asking for trouble. So now I'm going to sound like the worst kind of needle hoarder, and maybe I am. I also happen to have 3 Chargoo cases. 2 of them I'm already using for my Chargoos and my Knit Pros, both interchangeables. Reason I have 3 of those is, well, one, I bought a set, as you do, and the 2nd I got for review, and the 3rd I got really, really cheaply, just because someone were destashing the needles, and I could always use more Chargoos because they are the ones I use the most. So I might just migrate all these HiyaHiyas into these, and then I will have 3 empty HiyaHiya cases. And the problem is now that I have 3 full ChiaoGoo cases, I'm not going to be able to tell which ones are the ChiaoGoos, which ones are the Knit Pros, and which ones are the HiyaHiyas, my 3 go-to needle brands. So I'm going to have to think of a way to individualize them a little bit, I think. It's just getting a bit ridiculous, but yeah. I do like them. It's just, I really find it hard to find the perfect needle cases for me. I don't like the cases where you have to kind of fold the case open. You know, I had like this really nice Della Q bag that I got for review ages ago. It's just not for me. I just end up not reaching for the needles even, because it's such a faff to unwrap and then wrap. So I like these. These are the closest to perfection that I've kind of found, because they have a zip pocket on the side for the cables. You can open it like a pencil case, and you can fit larger sizes on one and the smaller ones on the other. There's an extra row for the shorter ones, and so you can keep the long ones in the back. It's the closest thing to perfect that I found. The only problem is that it goes from 2.75mm to 3.25mm. Where are the 3mm? And then they do actually go lower than 2.75 as well, because they make these really thin interchangeable ChiaoGoos, and there is just no pocket for them here. So I tend to put them in the side one here because it just says CG for ChiaoGoo. So you do get these extra ones. That's nice. And then it goes up to 10. This is usually all that you need. So they are the closest to perfect I found, despite lacking a pocket for the 3. That's a minor complaint. So and this one I'm excused, because this was a lovely kind of care package that I got from my friend Amy, who you may know as Stranded Yarn and Stranded Dye Works podcast, all that stuff. This is how it often goes. You know, I get her to get me stuff from America, and you know, I buy it, she brings it home, and we arrange to meet. She gets ill. No, that's not usually how it goes. This, you know, Amy has an immune system of steel, but she did get ill when she was supposed to come over here, which we were super bummed about. But she did send me the stuff in the mail, and it was a very lovely package. So these are essentially older purchases. I managed to get these thanks to the recommendation of a podcast viewer that PT4 was available at sweater quantity on eBay. PT4, I was not aware existed, and it doesn't anymore. It's an old yarn from Norway, and there's no date or anything like that on this label, but what I do know for sure is that it's been a long time since any yarn company, aside from the more recent, you know, Hillesvåg and Sarbu Spinneri, sold a yarn in hanks. That's kind of a thing that's coming back. Growing up, I never saw yarn in hanks. They were more common, you know, at least before the 90s. I'm gonna say this is from at least before the 90s, and it's old. It's, yeah, it's before PT, you know, before they went into, you know, bullet skeins, what we commonly call bolts, before they merged with Rerum, before all that. And yeah, I got a sweater quantity, and for anyone who's like, you know, I want that yarn too, it is remarkably similar to Per Gynt, the yarn I made my Kosakofta in. It seems so similar. 100 meters per 50 grams, so it's 200 meters on this 100 gram hank. Same gauge as recommended. 100% Norwegian wool. It does seem worsted spun. It's quite smooth, and yeah. So I got, I think, 5 of these, and I don't know what to make with it. Yeah, you know, these kinds of really long gone discontinued yarns, I can't really have myself when I get the opportunity, and it really did not cost much. I'm not sure the seller knew what they were selling, so I feel really lucky to have this. Lastly, a thing that I had to buy from SSK that Amy brought home to me is a hilarious bag from the Fat Squirrel, also known as Amy Beth of the Fat Squirrel podcast. Just a heads up, it does have some very naughty words written on it. So if you've got some tiny ones watching the podcast right now, you might want to, you know, cover their little eyeballs and make them, you know, look at other things. Just point out the window and say squirrel, something like that. Because I'm going to show you. Because I think it's hilarious, this bag, despite its, you know, French jargon. It's so beautiful and just floral, and then just like speaks to my soul right there. Just this is the spirit that I knit my projects. I'm a very angry knitter. I mean, I'm not, I love knitting, but I knit with my whole emotional register. So yeah, this bag is currently full of the project that I'm making the Serrano yarn in. I will show you when I can, when I decide to, I guess, you know, maybe spread it out for other episodes. But yeah, it's a really cool bag. Clearly fits a chunky weight sweater quantity, so there's that. It's smaller than my other Fat Squirrel bag, but equally sturdy, high quality, amazing print. And just, yeah, I'm gonna put it away now so you can just, you know, uncover your eyes if you are allergic to profanities. Yeah, I love this bag. I am so pleased to have it. So if you ever want to, you know, get any of Amy Beth's bags, she does have an online yarn shop, online bag shop, online, you know, project bag shop. So would always recommend that. I would be buying a lot more from her if I was, you know, overseas, but import tax and stuff, it just put some much needed restraint on me, let's be real. Amy also included a bit of a surprise with the package. There were these 3 skeins that she felt had gone wrong dyeing it. I don't know what she thinks went wrong. This is her Deep Feelings colorway on BFL Masham, and she just wasn't happy with them. I can't imagine why. So I got them, 3 of them. They look very dark on camera. They're not really that dark. Let's see if we can get some. Yeah, that's better. Oh, look at that. Look at that. So I'm already thinking what to knit with it. I'm in fact even thinking about a design. I'm not sure yet. I obviously realized just how annoying it will be for her if I choose to make a design in a colorway that she doesn't feel went quite how it should have. I don't really see any problem with it. I just think Amy is a bit of a perfectionist, you know, which is probably a good thing. That's probably why she's doing so well with her business. I'm really pleased that I, as opposed to her cat, gets her, you know, not successful yarn, because she used to put them on the cat's bed and I'm like, come on, you got a nice Skeindeer that wants your yarn. So yeah, thank you Amy, thank you so much. I'm gonna come up with something really cool with these. Usually 3 skeins of sweater quantity for me is a little bit on the short side, but BFL Masham is actually quite generous on the meterage, and I obviously like my cropped sweaters, so I don't see an issue with about 1,200 meters for me. So just cutting it, but I think I can do that. So BFL Masham non-superwash 2-ply woolen spun from Laxton's Mill. Love it. And we're now going into Make Joy. I talked about Make Joy earlier, a event that was run for the very first time in London, in I think the area of kind of South Kensington by Gloucester Road Station over there in London. It's run by Alison Thistlewood, who is one half of Yarn in the City. I think Alison's now going a little bit solo now that Rachel's on this other side of the planet. So she's now starting, you know, with all the events. That's her forte. Alison does amazing events in London, you know, and also she's working with Unravel now, which is in outside of London, Farnborough. And Farnham? Farnborough? Over there, whatever. And yeah, I talked about the event before. Obviously she's a friend of mine. I'm happy to talk about, you know, the stuff that she does. There's always just really good events, and it kind of took me back just how nice this event was, because she'd already pitched it to me that she was working on a much smaller, much more intimate event with, you know, well curated collection of curators, you know, and a well curated set of people exhibiting or selling their products, be it yarn, project bags, more yarn, accessories. And yeah, and she was absolutely right. It really felt well curated and intimate, and it was, you know, a 50-50 market, 50-50 tables and chairs in the same room, so you didn't have to leave one to go to the other, and you were always like present but you never overwhelmed. And I think I'm honestly really hoping this kind of event is going to be a game changer in the industry right now, because looking around you in the UK to all the amazing yarn shows, each and every one trying to be bigger than the other, which, you know, is a nice luxury, is a nice problem to have, but they can't all be Edinburgh Yarn Festival and Woolen and Knitting and Stitching Show. They can't all be that. And I think there's a place for smaller events for people who are more easily overwhelmed, who don't have all the time in the world, who, you know, for all the reasons you may not want to go to the really big shows and you maybe just want to meet up with your local knitting community with a smaller market. This was perfect, and I think the UK and maybe the knitting world at large could use more of that. I'm seeing them do that quite a bit in Oslo actually, unless I missed out. Yeah, I think there is really a place, a market for that, if you will. And I think it's good for visitors. I think it's good for exhibitors. You could see how none of them, you know, had brought the sort of piles of stuff that people bring to the really big yarn shows, where vendors really exhaust themselves before having, you know, enough products to sell for 2-3 days straight. Whereas this was for one afternoon. They could bring the stock that they had and maybe make a bit of extra. I'm not diminishing just how much hard work they've done, but they just seem to have so much more energy, so much more to give to the people coming up to the booths, talking, buying, and you could see them beaming with energy after. They were not exhausted, we were not exhausted. It was just nice and energizing, and I hope to see more events like that in the future from Alison and from other people who are interested in running yarn events in the UK. They don't all have to be super big. I think, yeah, I'm very optimistic for these kinds of things. So I just thought I'd mention that. That was a success. So what did I come home with? Well, that's the other good thing. You didn't really feel like you had to buy that much to justify your stay there. And I think every person exhibiting there also didn't have to compete with that many. There were, you know, 15 probably vendors. So everyone, I think, you know, sold just enough, and I ended up buying just a little bit here and there, and ended up with 2 project bags, 1 skein and a book. I'm going to show you them in the opposite order that I bought them, because that's how they're laid out here. I got this book from the amazing, super kind and wonderful and fun Salina. I have a very strong feeling we have met before. I did already follow her on Instagram, so it might just be that. But I really think we have met. But anyway, it was really nice to meet her there. We had a really nice chat. I got to see all of her illustrations in print. Stuff that I'm thinking I'm going to buy, you know, when I have my own place in the distant future. But I could always get her book. So this is the shawl, sorry, the journey shawl. I don't think I'm gonna spoil any of the interiors. I'm going to show you her business card that I have here. You can check out her Instagram, her website. I'm assuming she has one. Her style is just so amazing, whimsical. It's all messy and chaotic yet relaxing to watch. Very strongly knitting themed. Yeah, I really like her style. As someone who used to be really into drawing, it just speaks to me. So yeah, do check out Salina's work. I'm really pleased to have, sorry, her booklet. No spoilers, but yeah. So that was one of those things, you know, with this kind of smaller show, that you start to notice everyone there. You can't miss anyone because everyone's there. They're not that many, and maybe before I would have just focused on the yarn. The only ones that do woolly yarns, that would be what I would be looking for, and I may have missed Salina, and that would have been such a shame. So I'm really, again, really pleased to have such a smaller show where I could really pay attention to everyone exhibiting and notice what I would normally have not picked up on, which would be an awful shame. So yeah. Anyway, I also got 1 skein. Countess Ablaze was there, Lindsay and her husband, I believe. So yeah, I got 1 skein. This was kind of a potluck kind of colorway. It's called I Carry a Bottle of Hot Sauce When I Travel, just on the Grande Merino Aran base. It's a superwash Merino Aran. 115 grams, 174 meters. Yeah, it's from the Rebel batch, so I'm guessing it's a bit of a limited one. This is probably a better representation of the colorway. You can see why I ended up with this. It's just right up my alley, this sort of blood red yeah, so I'm thinking a hat, you know, cabled Aran hat. I don't usually do my hats in superwash, but if not for me, then for a friend, you know. But I think I tend not to give away these superwash things, but if I do know exactly the recipient, so you know, maybe she'll get one, or maybe it's for me. Maybe I just wear it like this, like some kind of Princess Leia or something. I don't know. But yeah, one skein from a whole show, that's not bad. And it's not to say that I didn't spend, because I also got 2 project bags. These I got from the Wool Barn, and they're made by Butternut Handmade UK. Butternut Handmade, that is. So first, this one really attracted me. I just saw it and I was like, yep, that's mine. And then I saw this and I'm like, this is so up my alley. I really couldn't choose, and I don't think she charged that much for them, you know, the sheer quality of these. So yeah, I got both, and clearly I needed them because they are packed full. This one of projects in plural that I will show you when the time is right, and this one with, you know, all my props for leftover yarns and whatever for the knitting retreat that I went to, which I will talk about. Hang you on, that will be covered. So yeah, they're really big, you know, sweater quantity size bags, and yeah, I'm just really pleased I got both of them because they were beautiful. And do love a good project bag, and clearly they're always in use, so if anything it keeps my stash down. Or does it really? Because it just means I cast on stuff and put them in. I'm not sure really. Yeah, now we got to the point where I'm just overheating. It's really hot now. Not a bad problem to have in November if you ask me. So, but hey, you get to see Otra a little bit off the hanger, I guess. And that's my battery blinking, so I guess we're changing battery as well now. Oh dear. So now that we've finally wrapped up my purchases from Make Joy, which was super fun, super good. I think I've just covered, you know, my enthusiasm thoroughly on that one. It was a success. More of that kind of stuff, please. And now I'm finally ready to talk about the Susan Crawford knitting retreat. I'm going to tell you the whole thing from beginning to end. From really beginning to end. This is part of my origin stories. I think it's kind of a fun story if you're here for a bit of a story time now that I have a full battery to spend. So I you know, moved to London 2011. I knit Colorwork, mittens and sweaters, all that stuff that just, you know, fixed my homesickness, and eventually, you know, started checking out yarn shops, and I found this one in particular that was run by a woman from my hometown, Maya of Knit with Attitude. So I actually got a weekend job at Knit with Attitude for a very short period of time, just kind of helping out when my friend who had the weekend job couldn't make it because she had a lot of jobs that she was juggling. And the one time I had the weekend kind of job there, Susan Crawford was having a talk. I think this was back in 2015, quite early. I looked a lot different then. Oh god, that's almost upsetting to think of. I was a cute young little Skeindeer there, and I remember sat in front row with one of my first ever female projects, and I was listening to this woman talk about her up and coming Shetland vintage project, and you know, I was here for it. We talked a bit, but I don't know that she remembers me much. But that's kind of where it started. Now, of course, Susan had her break when she was undergoing, you know, cancer treatment. And I, you know, PhD and everything was happening in life. And eventually, you know, I started doing this podcast and simultaneously got asked by Maya of Knit with Attitude, as it just so happens, to teach Colorwork. And I didn't have a pattern. And I started thinking, oh, I gotta have a pattern that's suitable for the class, but also, you know, I can legally distribute for the class. And it has to be, you know, yeah, Colorwork. And then I just landed on a DK weight mitten that I had never seen a DK weight Sarva mitten at the time. I think they did exist, I just wasn't aware. And I decided to explain it really well to make sure that I could, you know, not just give it out for the class and explain it and use it as the handout, but also, you know, send them home to finish for next session. And we had 3 sessions altogether. And I had to find yarn that was suitable, and as you do, you choose the yarn that's from the shop, right? And I looked around, and you know, there wasn't as much woolly wool then as there is now, because now it's a lot more popular, and back then it's harder to come by. But luckily, Maya, of course, had yarn by Susan Crawford, who had, you know, been teaching there the year before or so, and they were very, you know, good relationship between the shop and Susan. So yeah, I chose that yarn. It seemed like the best choice, DK weight woolly wool. Cast on, and we used that for the class and for the second class, and eventually, you know, you guys requested that I put the pattern up on Ravelry, and so I did, and that was my first ever paid for pattern, and eventually what became the beginning of my whole design career as I started making more mittens and the first Saturday Knitting Club, and you know, we're now running the third, and it's kind of been a quite a central part of what I do. And Susan started noticing that, you know, people were buying Excelana DK more than normally, and had to find out where was this coming from. And eventually managed to track down the culprit, you know, my mitten pattern. And so when she came back to London, I think it was spring last year, was it? Maybe earlier, I don't, it was, I think 2018, I think. And she had her whole vintage Shetland project with her, the books and everything, and it was all done, it was published, and everyone were talking about it. And she had the book launch at Wild and Woolly, the other yarn shop in my area, and I was shy, I wasn't going to say hi or anything, but you know, I got persuaded, and we started talking, and we really got on. We have a lot of things in common, even like weird things you wouldn't expect, like, you know, really being into Marvel superhero films, you know. Just so yeah, that was just a really good event. Later the day after, you know, I showed Susan and Tess around in my area. They were going to, you know, Columbia Road Flower Market, which is literally right there. So, you know, I guess sometimes I network, I guess. So she came back to Knit with Attitude to talk more about Shetland Vintage Project, and so we met again. And then eventually, you know, I guess me just notoriously talking Saturday mittens all the time and hit it home that I know that stuff. So when she decided to host a knitting retreat that was focused on colorwork mittens, and especially the link between Shetland and Norway, specifically Saturday mittens in Trøndelag, where I'm from, it made sense to, I guess, have someone who knows that stuff. So yeah, I got invited to talk about them, and you know, I got to say all the stuff that I know about the mittens, all the stuff that I think is really interested about it, the whole history from, you know, when the mittens were first developed in Sarbu, when it happened, not that long ago actually, and you know, how they played a central part in the local wedding traditions, how they eventually were made more for commercial use and eventually became more streamlined for that purpose, and all that stuff. And then linking up to what Susan was later going to talk about in terms of how that affected the knitting market in Shetland. Yeah, so I kind of got the teaching bug back again, so now I'm just like, I want to start teaching again. And I honestly, if anyone in the UK within reasonable travel distance want me to come and just talk about mittens, I am not really doing the whole hands-on instructional teaching. It's just not my strength, the whole, you know, bend over, this is how you do it. I can do it, it's just hard to be there equally for everyone with the limited time of a class. I can still do it, I did it lots up in the Lake District now, but if someone's interested in just a lecture, can come and do that. I know this stuff. I now have prepared ones. I obviously will do it different. We will have less time than a whole knitting retreat. I'm not going to do the same thing that was, you know, kind of an exclusive for the people there, but I'm getting back into my my teaching mojo, so thinking more about that now. But yeah, let me just talk about the retreat. It was amazing. Like, I've heard that the Lake District is beautiful, but I had no idea. I'm a little bit cynical when it comes to beautiful scenery in this sort of latitude, because I'm just like, usually it's kind of like Norway, or Norway's sometimes a bit nicer. So I just kind of grown to be a bit, you know, contain my enthusiasm until I see it, and whoa, the Lake District is amazing. It's just gorgeous. Just having the Derwent water at my doorstep for a whole week, I just want to go back. I didn't want to leave. And we had Keswick just across the pond, so that was a nice sort of small town that we went in for one day. It's just Oh, I wish we could have stayed there for longer as well. I just would have done everything longer. Just being in the boat across the water as well. Was the Derwent jetty was there. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like one of those standard desktop backgrounds with this jetty that goes out into the sea. It's like a super relaxing photo. And of course, you know, I had to do my cheesy photos there. And there were Herdwick sheep and alpacas. We walked an alpaca. We each got to walk an alpaca. So I got the alpaca called Stevie Wonder, who was really stubborn. I had to like pull him. Like all the other alpacas walked nicely and he was just like, nope, you are not taking me anywhere. Just my luck. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I wanted to. Oh, just, yeah. But anyway, I was hoping to do some really nice photos there, as you know, you have the backdrop and everything. And of course, I forgot my camera. So luckily Susan helped me take some nice photos of the Otra sweater with my cell phone camera that isn't half bad. And then eventually at her farm we got some very nice photos of the host cardigan with her fancy schmancy equipment. So I'm gonna update some of the host photos as well, just because now I can. I mean, I'm gonna stick to Christina's wonderful photos because she's gorgeous, her photos are gorgeous, just the whole, yeah. But you know, for the sake of body diversity, I think I'm gonna smack in some photos of myself there as well. So yeah, thank you so much, Susan, for helping me with the photos. And by the way, the Lingholm estate where we stayed is actually where the vegetable garden that inspired the whole, you know, Peter Rabbit thing was. That was the vegetable garden. You know, Beatrix Potter, the whole thing. If maybe you have to be European to know this stuff, I don't know. But that's pretty cool. I've been like dragging a stubborn alpaca called Stevie Wonder across the Peter Rabbit vegetable garden. That's not something I ever had on my bucket list, but now that I've done it, I can say I've done it. So yeah, there were purchases, or actually quite a few, if you're gonna design with this stuff, kind of stuff as well. I guess yarn support is what they call it. What wasn't yarn support was this book. I obviously had to get it because this is just kind of what my library is really. So this is a Lithuanian mitten book. Well, knitting book. It's not really based on mittens, and it's not the same kind of chart dictionary that a lot of my other mitten books are. This is a bit more of a history book. So, well, there's a bit of charts in here. Okay, I take that back. There are some charts, but it's not, yeah, it's mostly a textbook generally. But you know, I've got textbooks for Estonia, I've got Latvia, I've got to have some Lithuania in the collection as well, you know, make my granddad Dimitri proud. Great granddad, actually. Yeah, that's another side of my family we're not talked about much here. Maybe that will come up more when I dabble into these mittens. So if for, you know, future notice. So that's a book I bought, and I also got 5 of these. There were like 10 left or something. I don't think there are many left in her shop. This is the Ghyll yarn. The pronunciation, not sure I can. Yeah, Ghyll yarn. This is 100% shearling long wool, grown, sheared and spun in the UK. The Lancashire moors, from the Lune Valley. So it's a sport weight yarn, 100 grams, 300 meters, hand dyed by Countess Ablaze. So you may have seen a bit of a trend, I don't know. Just, yeah, different dyers dyed on this yarn by Susan Crawford. I think the only yarn she's got left now is Skein Queen and Countess Ablaze. No, I'm lying. Knitting Goddess and Countess Ablaze. So Knitting Goddess has this really nice kind of stripy variegated pink brown that kind of made me think of ice cream. There's a lot of those left still if you want to get your bits on it. But I snagged the Countess Ablaze bright red Victoria yarn, and I got 5, so that would be enough to do a jumper. I just don't know which one. I was a little bit worried that very saturated non-superwash yarns will bleed, so I didn't get a contrast color, and I think it might just be more of a texture knit, this one. So yeah, 5. So that was the big splurge of this day. The rest of the yarn I got as yarn support. So I should have mentioned that up front. I'm really sorry I didn't. It's obviously inevitable when like podcasters do hauls that people start comparing themselves. Oh, I could never afford that. Oh, that's a lot. Oh, that's so. Oh, please remember that I do this professionally. Please remember that this is my job. Please remember that I'm not just hobby knitter. Not that that's just because that's probably more freeing than doing it on deadlines and as a job, but it does mean that this is part of my stock as well as hobby. So it's important to remember, because the comparison isn't quite the same. I don't want anyone to feel bad, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So when I get yarn support, that is for my job. That's not just because it's because people hope that I will design with the yarn, basically, or at least knit with it and talk about it. So I have. So this yarn is brand new from Susan Crawford. It's literally just being launched. It's called Barn Yarn, and oh, it smells like a barn. I love this. It smells like a barn. I'm pretty sure that will wash out if you do it a couple of times, but I love that. And I find it actually quite next to skin friendly. So she gave me one skein. I didn't even realize it was for me. She was just like, what do you think? And I'm like, it's nice. And then suddenly it was mine. So yeah, 225 meters per 100 grams. Monkey Gill farm yarns from Susan Crawford. So that's her farm, by the way. And it's a unique blend of Jacob, white Shetland and black Shetland fleeces. So that is why it's so heathered. It does say DK weight, but I'm gonna say it's quite plump. So you could probably knit it to a worsted weight as well, which is kind of what I'm doing, because when she was packing down and realized there was only a couple of skeins left in the pop-up shop at the retreat, I got another 2. So I got 3 altogether, and last night I decided to chart out a shawl based on an old Estonian chart and do a very quick lace shawl. And I'm going to show you this now. I usually don't like showing my designs at such an early stage, but this is going to be done in no time, because I have not really like sat down and powered through it. I just picked up, did a row, put it down and picked it up again and did a row kind of thing when it was late and I wasn't really feeling any like knitting at all, and I got this much done. Right, it's going to be done in no time. And it would be nice to have, you know, some more patterns for such a brand new yarn that I think, you know, it's worth causing a bit of a spectacle around. So I get, yeah, I don't have to do that, by the way. I just like kind of felt like doing that. So yeah, big needles here. I think we're dealing with an 8mm wooden needle for a change. I just felt like doing wooden for it, yeah, for a change. This is Knit Pro. Could easily be mistaken for a licky needle because they are kind of the same. Controversial opinion, but okay. I usually prefer metal needles, but this was quite nice to do on a thick wooden needle, and it was the one I was free. So it's a triangle shawl, but because it's a garter, a complete garter shawl, it does become a little bit more shallow, so you don't get that crazy depth that you often get with the triangle shawl. So it should have a very nice depth to wingspan ratio, and I should think it will have the perfect fit for kind of my shawl sensibilities. So yeah, next to skin friendly, like I said, and even if you're fussy, you can knit with, you know, I don't know, Quince and Colorwork, something like that would be nice. Yeah, I would stick to the non-superwash, just because when you go with this big needles, you don't want something that just flops like alpaca and superwash. I'm not bitter at alpacas, just because Stephen Wonder was a bit of a stubborn one, but just not gonna work here. So yeah, it's just flying off the needles. I haven't even tried to make considerable progress, and yet here we are. So hopefully that will be just continue to be a breeze. I don't know how I'm going to finish it off. I might just do a bit of garter and leave it at that. I just want it to be a simple, you know, maybe a Christmas knit for people who need to kind of zone out and calm down a bit after the whole thing. We'll see. I'm not going to put any time constraint on myself, but it's nice to have something like that happening, even though all my deadline knits are just screaming in my face, just finish us, you should have finished us last week. So the last bit of yarn support I got was literally before we left, and I started thinking, it would be nice to do a sweater in Excelana DK, wouldn't it? She's like, yeah, it would. I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking this, and she was like, yeah. Okay, how much do you need? So, you know, I got 5 of the navy blue, I guess that was a bit nasal, sorry, and 3 of the white. So we're looking at some color work, navy blue with white contrast color. That's a very dark navy, it's not that dark. Maybe I have to take the white down. There, that's more like it. So yeah, Excelana DK, the first yarn I ever designed with, and now I'm getting it as the yarn support, like some kind of fancy schmancy. I have received Excelana for Applies yarn support, so I guess, you know, it's what I did the last year's mystery mittens with. And one of the club mittens as well. Yeah, it's got, where are the meters? Hey, 247 meters per 100 grams. I'm going to do a jumper in it. I have already designed it. I could just cast it on. I've actually caked up one of the blue skeins. But I have no business casting that on until I finish my deadline knits that I've talked about notoriously for months. So that concludes this very elaborate acquisition section. I think I'm not gonna say I'm gonna go on a yarn diet, but I may just like try to, you know, calm down a little bit, at least until I, you know, I'm face to face with the new colors for Vilja when I come home for Christmas. So there's that. I am also getting a lot of questions about whether I'm going to do Vlogmas, and the default answer here is no, just because of the whole PhD thesis thing. But thinking about it, it doesn't have to take up that much time off my time, depending on how much I produce ahead of time and how little I put in. That could still be a nice sort of regular thing for you guys, even if they're shorter videos, and you know, obviously the intro and outro staying roughly fixed. It's possible. Let me know kind of how you think about that kind of sort of more planned thing, because the alternative is not doing it at all, and I'm not sure right now. I do know it's a quite a big part of a lot of people's Christmas traditions now, seeing as I've done it for 2 years, and it kind of is for me as well. It is one of those things that may give a bit of meaning to that time of year for me. I want to do it, I just don't think I have time, but we will find out. But let's assume that I'm not going to do it, in case anyone was wondering. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. So thank you all so much for watching, even though this episode may have gone a bit over time. I probably forgot to mention a whole lot of things. There was a lot of stuff, you know, there's been a lot of time between this time and last time. So yeah, thanks for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.